Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another edition of Raising Vibration Radio. I'm your host, Reverend Raven, and I am so blessed to have our special guest, Laura Topper, all the way from the other side of the pond in the UK, joining us live here. Well, actually, it'll be a recording, but we're just going to say live because I'm live right now. Laura, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Reverend Raven, for inviting me here and joining us. It's just great to join with you again after you came on to the Cosmic Prayer. It's just amazing to be able to connect here with you like this.
Yeah, speaking of the Cosmic Prayer, can you tell
Yeah.
everyone what your show is about?
Oh, wow. The Cosmic Prayer is an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity for us all to embrace and understand even more deeply the spiritual practice of prayer. It doesn't have to be from a new thought perspective. It's really what prayer means to us and for us. And so I had the idea during 2020, in the midst of COVID, that there were so many things coming up with shows coming up online for meditation, new opportunities for people to meet. I just thought, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if we could really uncover prayer in a very beautiful way by inviting guests on every week to talk about it. And that's where it stemmed from. And so every week someone that I'm inspired by, I invite them on to talk about their experience of prayer and to share that with the listeners and viewers on New Thought Media Network.
Nice. And that's not only the only show you do, correct?
I do run a meditation from New Thought Media Network every week as well, that people can join in. It's a global meditation for love. And I'll have new things coming up next year on New Thought Media Network, definitely. Yes.
Nice. So I happened to cruise by your web page before you and I got on because I was just curious. I see that you have an event going on.
I always have events going on, and it's like, okay, whatever I feel like in my heart. And this time I just really feel to call people to really get clear on how they see their way forwards for 2022 unfolding. So it's a beautiful series of workshops over the next few weeks that allows people to tune into their hearts and really to unravel that greater vision for their lives. And how can we bring this forwards now? We've all been through so much individually and collectively. And now it's time, I feel, to really just, allow the real dream to come through. And that we all know what that is individually for us. We know what it is. But often we're scared to take those steps.
Yes.
We hold ourselves back.
Yes, we do need to take action. This is the time to quit creating that, but taking action is really important right now.
And it's not only outer action, it's that action within that tells us that it's okay for us to really do what it is that we want to do, whatever that is. And we're now in this Aquarian age, there's an opening up, and it's our responsibility, I see, to own that and to really bring our visions forward proudly, and say, this is it, this is how I see, this is my part in it. And together it's really exciting. I feel like it's some kind of collage that we're all creating right now, and we're each a piece of this collage, and it's up to us to take responsibility and say, now is the time, let's all join together, create this amazing picture of how we really want it to be, how we see it coming through, and owning it. That's exciting for me.
Yes, it is. It's very exciting. Speaking exciting, tell us your backstory. What was how did you get into this, and what was your aha moment? And then how did you spring forward doing all this?
Oh my gosh, how far back do I go, Rev Raven?
Go back as far as it takes.
Oh my gosh. Growing up, I always knew there was something else. It was like I was highly attuned to knowing that what I'm seeing, this isn't, this is it, of course, and yet there's more, there's something different. And I questioned it, and I was brought up in a Jewish tradition, and that really peed me off because I couldn't understand half of it. It's all in Hebrew when you go to the synagogue. You know, it's like, okay, the food is great, the jokes are great, the family bit is great, but understanding that's a whole other thing. You know, you have to do it on a heart level if you don't get the language.
Right.
So I was always delving, always seeking. And then in my 20s, I made a move to London and met new people. My world opened up. And along with that, plonked into my hands came a cassette from a friend of Louise Hay, and a book, Shakti Gawain, Creative Visualization. You know, this is my early 20s. So that's I'm 57 now. Work that one out. And I was like, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, this cassette and this book is saying what I've never really been able to verbalize, but yet I know in my heart. So that was my opening there. And I delved more. I understood meditation and did all sorts of things. My world was open. I was like in a sweetie shop. And it was really, that book, Heal Your Life, came in and out many, many times of my life. And when I was in 2011, you know, fast forward many years of all sorts of delving into spirituality and metaphysics.
Mm-hmm.
In 2011, You Can Heal Your Life landed on my doorstep, and I didn't order it. I didn't order that book from Amazon, and there it was being delivered to me again. And I opened it and I read it, and I flicked right to the back, and it said, you know, if you want to be a teacher, Heal Your Life teacher, then come on, you know, go to this website. And something in me was just saying, oh, wow, here's an invitation. And I've done all of these workshops. I've done this as a participant. I felt this calling to step into becoming a teacher and understanding it more from that perspective. So that's what I did. And in 2012, I took the coach training. And then at that point, I walked a labyrinth, which I've never walked a labyrinth at that point before. And that experience of walking that labyrinth opened up my heart. And I don't know how to describe the experience that I had walking that labyrinth, but it changed my life forever. And it was a very deep, very mystical, spontaneous awakening experience that happened. And when that happened for me, I came back to the UK completely seeing, it's like a whole new world of the way I was looking at life and understood maybe from a heart perspective, but I couldn't intellectualize what had happened. It was too far, it was too big, too great. It was like a divine communion with the divine, and that just freaked me out. So because I'm quite a heady person, I wanted to understand it from a
Mm-hmm.
kind of intellectual place. My life had been spun into something else, and I came back to the UK like not feeling that I fitted in with anything after that experience. So I discovered Science of Mind here in the UK.
Right.
And I started studying with Reverend Anya, my teacher, to really understand the philosophy of Ernest Holmes. And I became like obsessed with understanding that and then relating it to my experience at the same time. And I couldn't stop learning. I was just learning and reading, and that's what I've continued to do up until this point. So I see myself as always that student seeking to understand that experience that happened for me in the labyrinth. And because it just changed everything. Everything changed from that moment onwards. It was one of those.
Now, since that changed for you, has life just been so hunky-dory and everything's just
No.
roses?
Oh my God. Oh my, no. It's been the opposite.
Really?
Yeah, it's given me an amazing opportunity to challenge my beliefs, to allow the old to crumble away, which it still is doing, and to use the knowledge that I'm learning to know the truth of who I am. So that part has become easier because I have a deepened faith.
Mm-hmm.
I can look at things and see what's going on around me, and it not be as disastrous as it might be, if you know what I mean by that.
Yes.
And yet that does not stop the what's going on around me from happening. That's still happening. That's our daily lives. That's us understanding how we can balance ourselves or harmonize, and to know that this is an experience that we're living. It's God that's coming through everything that we're living and experiencing. And my grip on that has become much more stable. So I'm able to manage it differently, but it certainly doesn't stop the stuff from happening. Yeah.
So what would you say to our listeners, viewers out there, when you're diving into your spirituality, you're giving, you do your prayers, you meditate, you've got gratitude all day long, and you still have things happen to you that are not so kosher? What would you say to them, to how to explain that, why that's going on?
Okay. So there's a few ways that I could explain it. One of them is, if you think about a labyrinth, you're going in and you're spiraling round, and then you're turning back on yourself, and you're following this one path, and you're being led basically into the center,
Mm-hmm.
and then out to the outside, and you think you got there, you think you've arrived, and then suddenly you're on the outer ring, walking that outer ring. So you feel like you're miles away, but yet you only turned one corner, and you feel like, and suddenly you're on the outside, and then you turn another corner, and then boom, you're in the middle. And it's like, well, how did I get here? I thought I was over there, and actually I'm not, I'm over here. And I think if we bring that into our life, into our everyday experience of life, we can see that we are journeying this spiral. And as we look at the same experience from another level, or from another stage of our awakening, we can see that experience in a different way, and yet it's not going to stop the experience. And yet we can see it, we can accept it in a totally different way, where we're not resisting it because we don't need to, because we're seeing it as another stepping stone in our lives. So, for example, last year I was in the situation of experiencing homelessness, and that for me was something that maybe 5 years ago or 4 years ago or 3 years ago would have completely freaked me out.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I chose to see the experience as an experience for growth, an opportunity where I could be in it and understand the healing that I was being called to do, to move me on and through that. And I think that's, if we look at our lives from that place, if you think that you're not moving forwards, you always are. And you always have this amazing opportunity to look at it, knowing that it's love expressing. Not always easy when you don't want to be in it, and yet it is the truth. It is love expressing, always giving us this really amazing opportunity, like a gift, to look at it and say, how can I see this and really be grateful for it? Because it's serving me now so that I can grow. That's how I think I would. It's not always easy, though, when we're in that transition, because you're talking about transition here. It's like embracing the leap.
Right.
When we take that leap and actually loving being in that place of leaping, and not being afraid of it. That's where the freedom lies. Because if we can master that, then we're kind of, well, we're doing really well.
So, what
Yeah.
do you think the spiritual message for you for being homeless? What fear were you tackling to get yourself into that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I love that. um, I mean, there's the metaphor that I played with, it's like accepting home wherever I am.
Uh-huh.
That was one that really was running through from me.
Right.
There was another level of healing that I was being offered, and that was a family pattern, or a lineage, if you like, a pattern through my lineage, of fear. There was the understanding of compassion, a deeper compassion. I was being called to become more compassionate, less judgmental of what I was seeing and where I was living, and the people that were also in that environment as well. I was really being given this big wake up call for compassion. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a
Yeah.
very difficult one for a lot of us to overcome, because we as people haven't had so much compassion in our lives from our past.
Yeah, and it's we go to a place of judgment. That's where our mind will take us to. When we
Mm-hmm.
see something that doesn't quite fit into our it should be like this template, then we will go down this pathway of judging it, thinking it's not right or it isn't good enough. And so I was really, a really dear friend of mine at the beginning of this experience for me said to me, Laura, if you can say to yourself every day, every moment as your mantra, this too is God expressing, and test that out and see how that works. Well, I did that. I must have said that thousands of times. I still say it over and over and over again. And yet during that experience, I've said it many, many, many times. It became my kind of like my foundation. And it really changed a lot for me, because I was then looking at things that ultimately maybe I would have really judged. And I was like, no, this too is the divine expressing. This is love expressing itself. Who am I to judge it? So it was very humbling.
Now that you've gone through that experience, and you've learned that deep-seated root, the judgment within yourself, do you find yourself occasionally going back to the judgment? I mean, because it is human nature, right?
Yeah, of course. Of course it is, Rev Raven. It's like we are humans here. And I think our work is to, we often hear this, to live, in three places. That's one foot in the heavens, one foot on earth, and the other, if we had three, is to amalgamate the two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're going to go back, because our mind will want to take us back to those places, and we'll always be challenged again to there's this kind of like opportunity to see, well, has she learned it? Have they learned it? Has he learned it? Let's challenge, let's place that opportunity or that gift of a challenge in there. So yeah, of course, the way I measure it though for me is I can take myself out of that judgment much more quickly. So if I go into that place of judgment, I have this ability now to wake myself up again, if you like, internally, and say, oh my gosh, this too is God expressing. And that is like a go-to place for me. And then I level out. It's like, it's all okay. And I can see that my life is so much better now, or different, or more enjoyable than it was a year ago. And so that, for me, that's the measure of that question, if you like.
Yes, thank you
Yeah.
so much for that, because I think as human beings, not the spiritual side of us, but the human side of us, we constantly, we've been judged from day one, ever since we were birthed onto this planet, right? And and then we have the influencers at an early age. And if you came from that environment, that is a really hard thing to overcome. And, I want listeners to know that you can overcome it, but it's a process.
You can overcome it. You're so right. Of course you can overcome it. And it takes a decision. That's what it takes, a decision to be a part of the process. Because yes, you're right, it is definitely a process. There are no quick fixes. Because when we say yes, we're saying yes to unraveling things that kind of they're gonna have to come out of the woodwork. These beliefs that we've been holding on to, these strands that are there, they're very subtle. They're not always just like, oh, people say change your beliefs, change your thoughts, and your life will change. Well, yeah, on one level, that is so. And yet there's something more subtle going on here, because in our conscious mind, we can't grasp onto those beliefs that are holding us back. We have to be our own spiritual detective. And we have to be willing to come out of our own way. And I think one of the greatest things about this or for this is to be in community. Because when we're out with other people, we get to see ourselves and to hear things from a different perspective, and we get to question ourselves. When we're on our own for long periods of time, we get used to our own way and we get stuck in that kind of track. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
So it's like we need others around us to remind us that there are other ways of thinking about things and of believing in things. So it definitely is a process. We're eternal beings in our humanness. We're here on this plane right now in our physical bodies, given this amazing opportunity to break through that lineage of patterning. And it doesn't just happen overnight.
So you talked about lineage healing in this process earlier. How has that been for you, with you and your lineage, your family members?
Yeah, and I want to be clear here. I'm not going into past life. This is a different thing,
Right.
because this is, that's another area which I don't feel, although I've done work with past life work for myself, but it's not what I'm, that's not where I'm coming from right now. This is like familiar stuff. This is the mother, the father, the grandmother, the great-grandmother, the ancestral lineage, and then how we bring that forwards with our children and how we see that revealing itself with their children, even if their children aren't yet here, right, in this physical plane. So I love that work. I love timeline work, because I think it gives us a great opportunity to remove the shame and the blame from ourselves, and to see with compassion what they were experiencing, what they were going through, what your parents were taught, their parents, and then their parents, and then their parents. And very often we can go back and we can peel away the layers and get this clarity on these beliefs that have come through, and you will recognize how they're out picturing in your life right now. So I think we always have this amazing opportunity to heal this strand from the past. It's always being called forwards. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I notice it too. The more work and the more action that you take towards your spirituality and moving forward and being communal, like you said earlier, I do notice that the lineage stuff comes up that we have to deal with.
Yeah. And I think there's an opportunity to make it, I won't say fun, but I mean, we can take the pressure off of ourselves by making it really heavy, and almost like become a helicopter, like viewing it from up above and seeing how this strand of beliefs, so take away the personality of our parents or our carers or our grandparents, and just look at the strand of beliefs for what they are. And then it becomes like, oh my gosh, we're human and we get to choose in all of this. And we also are, we're sucked into this mass consciousness of how life should be. And our parents were sucked into that too. And so were our grandparents and our great grandparents. So we're the ones that get to break that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I have a child, so I've already
Oh
kind
yeah.
of, I've already still, I put some of my stuff into his spheres, and I've got to undo that. And I'm witnessing that. And, I look at him and I go, oh my God, I was just like you when I was your age. I had those same
Oh wow.
thoughts.
Yeah. How old is he?
28.
Yeah. I have a daughter. She's nearly 20. So yes, I also believe, Rev Raven, that you've instilled a lot in him purely by the nature of who you are and what you know. Because when we have our children and we say yes to this, to being more present with the spirituality of who we are, that also is infiltrated into their consciousness. They know that.
Yes.
Do you believe that?
Yes, I do. I do.
Yeah. Even without words, they know it,
Yes.
I mean, I remember when my daughter was 7 and I would put her in front of the mirror with me and we'd play silly games and I would say, I love me, I love me. And she'd repeat me and we'd make, animals, we'd pretend to be animals saying, I love me, I love myself. And I believe that whatever our children, however they choose to live their lives as they grow and become young adults and experience this life and the decisions that they make, that those initial things that we instill into them are so seeded and rooted, they will never forget them.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Even if they've had some experiences that weren't so pleasant,
Oh yeah.
they at the basis of the heart, they know that energy. And and for my child is amazing. He turned out awesome. Yeah, we still have our little conflicts between the two of us, but I'm not trying to judge them anymore. It's just two
Right.
stubborn people butting heads up together.
Yeah, that's it. And when you both have that like letting go of that judgment and you can lead your relationship from that place, that's so beautiful, because it means then there's a full expression of who you are and he can express who he is without that fear of being judged for not being good enough.
Yes, I
Yeah.
totally agree. Now, some of the stuff that I believe in, he thinks it's hooey pooey. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I had a Ford Escort with peace stickers, the whole lot, She was like, "Oh my God, I can't get into this car. Can't get in. There's my mother," But now I look at her and I see strands of that in her, and I think, "Oh, okay, this is going to catch up with you one day. You're going to have peace stickers or whatever, but even maybe not." But it's allowing us to be the mothers that we are and our children as they grow to express themselves, as they choose to. It's not easy.
no,
Not always
no.
easy.
You're doing your own spiritual work, healing yourself from your past, not trying to
That's
judge
it.
yourself, staying
Yeah.
out of judgment, and you're trying to raise a kid or
Yeah.
heal something that happened. And it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding at the end. Tell us about you after your adventure last year of being homelessness, and then now what's going on for you now?
Well, we shifted that, we moved into a place where it's, really so much better and in a really lovely location, and something shifted because I know it's because of the work that I was doing. It's because of the work my partner was doing, the inner work, where we were really laying ourselves bare and saying, okay, this is our opportunity to to go for it with these spiritual practices and really put them into action here, into use for our lives. This practical spirituality, it's not just about words in a book, it's about really using it. And we did that. And so that shifted. And then as that shifted, so many beautiful things started changing. And I mean, there's a whole list. We have an ongoing list of like what happens every day that's amazing, that's coming in, even to finding pennies on the floor, or it's not about the quantity of money. It's like these gifts that keep popping in that we see because we're now willing to open up and to allow it into our lives. And that certainly doesn't mean we're millionaires, but yet the feeling that we have, is very different, because I think for me, it's because I feel like, okay, and I put this work into practice and it worked. So I know firsthand the power of meditation, the power of prayer, the power of visioning, the power of doing the healing work and the forgiveness. It's like, it's not just one thing, it's a whole, there's many different ways that we can clear that pathway, look at our beliefs, unpick our lives, and be kind to ourselves. Yeah.
So with all of that going on, do you have time for yourself? Because it sounds like your day's pretty full right there doing that work.
Yeah, but you see that work, I see that work as self-love. And so I create my day so that I have got, like, that for me is that's my container. I get up in the morning and I will do that work. However long that work takes, I will do it. Because I think it takes, we have to make, like I talked about making a decision, we have to make a decision how we want to lead our lives. Do I want to lead my life, from what I'm seeing and getting caught up in all of that stuff that's changing and changeable? Or do I want to live my life from a very centered and grounded place where I know the truth and I can prove that to myself? So I made a commitment to do that work, whatever it takes. And then from there, my life changed. So from there, and I think we were talking about this on the cosmic prayer, or maybe beforehand, when we let go of spiritual practice, we really see a difference in our lives. If anybody is brave enough to kind of experiment with that, I love experimenting and testing it out. Go for it for a week and don't do anything, and you will see the difference. How you're feeling.
Yes, try months of not doing it when you are so used to doing it. And I started back and wow, everything exploded again.
Wow, really? What happened?
Well, so I am the chairperson of the St. Pete Time Bank here in St. Petersburg, Florida. And we just were filming Thursday for a TV show called Solutionaries, and it's a web based broadcast with I can't remember the name of the network. They own several TV stations on the Eastern Seaboard, but we're going to be featured in a documentary on their web based production. And that was amazing. That was bringing the community together and telling their stories. And I met so many amazing souls that day that I did not know were in my community of the Time Bank. And I met this precious soul named Karen, who, while we were filming her, was cooking a turkey dinner for the homeless. I mean, about 45 people that she's going to feed on Thanksgiving Day. She's going to actually go and go to the park. And she said most of these people don't have teeth. So she was sitting there tearing the turkey piece by piece. Into, getting it ready, pre-cooking the mashed potatoes, the sweet potatoes. They're getting rolls, drinks, and socks, and a little hat. We get a little cold here in St. Petersburg in the wintertime. So, she gives out clothes and food. And what an amazing human being. And I was privileged to get to meet her, and she's trying to help the solution of homeless people. Like, she came up with an idea for a mailbox that doesn't require a key. It just uses their thumbprint, so that they could have a mailbox so they could get on benefits here because a lot of them qualify for help.
Wow, that's an incredible idea. Yeah, that's amazing because we have the same issue here with there are structures in place, and with COVID now there's more structure in place to help people that are in that situation, in that experience. But I believe that, you meeting her, if you picked up your spiritual practice again, that was like your consciousness opening again, saying, come on, Rev Raven, let's go for it. And meeting her, that's amazing. It takes one person, doesn't it, with an idea?
Oh yeah, and then there
Yeah.
was another gentleman there that I met that has a community farm, and he's about to open up a restaurant, and he's part of our time bank, and he's going to be feeding the homeless from the farm. So, I mean, how beautiful is that?
That is so beautiful, because it's not dismissing people, because we never know what's gone on in somebody's life, somebody's story, somebody that is homeless or home challenged, however you want to say it, because the actual word homelessness has been can't get the word, but they've actually put a redefinition to it now. It's not only the people that we see in the streets that are, sitting in doorways, or it's people that are sofa surfing.
Right.
It's people that are, literally staying at a friend's house because they've got nowhere else to go. They've broadened the definition.
Right.
And with that, it's expanded the number. It's expanded the number of people in this experience. So our job is to take away any judgment that when we see this, it's not, oh, you're there and I'm here. It's, I'm here, and how can I help you? What can I do for you? And it doesn't always mean giving money.
No.
A smile, a conversation, a look of acceptance and acknowledgement for that person's story and what they've been through and their strife. Forget about, I don't mean forget it, but I mean put aside whether there is an addiction or not. Deep down, we know this person is a spiritual being and spirit here on this planet Earth. And as humans, our job is to support each other and love each other regardless.
Yeah, so I got that opportunity to hear those stories Thursday, and and I'm associated with all these people because I'm their, the head of the organization, and I didn't realize how many great people, because I always been praying all of my life, please bring me people like me. Please bring me people like me. I want to hang around people like me. And then all of a sudden, bam, here they are right at my door. It was exciting.
And what I love about that is that you didn't have to move. They were just there because you opened up and you were like, I'm going to tune back into my spiritual practice. And so you unlocked something within yourself that was always there. And now you're ready to receive it and open up and have it as part of your experience. Isn't that beautiful?
It is beautiful. Thank you. And I'll tell you something else. I've learned to ask for help. That is really hard.
Oh, that is so hard. And I think, that actually, now you're saying that and going back to what you asked me in the very beginning, what did it show me? What did it teach? What did I learn from it? 2 words: resilience and resourcefulness. And resourcefulness means the ability to ask, the ability to say, to pick up the phone. And it doesn't mean ask for money. It means ask for that next step from somebody. Are you willing to pray with me? Are you willing to know the truth for me? And through that ability to open up to asking, to receiving, so many doorways are opened that they're always open, and yet we don't always see them. And so I think asking is so powerful. So powerful.
Oh, I know. And while I was out of my spiritual practice for those months, I actually lost a really good friend. Not to death, but we're just no longer in each other's lives. And I love that person with all my heart and soul. However, it just the whole opportunity to split away from, I don't know what happened there, to tell you the truth, but now that I'm back into my spiritual practice, that person reached out to me and said hello to me. So it's amazing, the things that
Wow.
you notice when you're not, taking that self-love for yourself, what can happen. And in an instant, the minute well, it wasn't instant, it took months for this to occur. But now the person reached out to me and said hello again. And I love that person very much, and I wish her the very best of life. But at my darkest point, I felt abandoned. You know what I mean by this
Yeah.
person? Um, but it wasn't her abandoning me, it was me abandoning myself. That's what I learned from that whole
Right.
experience. You know.
That's so amazing that you had that awareness that it wasn't you abandoning
Yeah,
her
she
abandoning you, it was you abandoning yourself.
yes.
And do you believe, because I think that's really brave to let go of spiritual practice and to test our lives.
Oh, yes.
I think it's so powerful to do that, because we do get stuck in a rut also with spiritual practice. We kind of go through the motions of, all right, now I'm going to do a meditation, and we sit there for 20 minutes and, okay, I've done my meditation. Now I'm going to do a bit of a prayer. Now I'm going to do a bit of writing. But
Mm-hmm.
it sometimes it becomes so habitual, that the feeling and the meaning and the yearning, the desire to really be in that place, in that zone, it gets lost. So I think it's really powerful to shake it up. And I love it that you stopped for months.
Well, I didn't do it by choice. It wasn't an experiment. It's just that
Okay.
I had my son move in with me, and his girlfriend, and I was supposed to be in my tiny house in the back, but that
Yeah.
it's still, that got shut down by the city, and I'm still working a little kinks out with that, but we're just about done with that, and I'll be in
Okay.
there before long, and that's the blessing right there in itself. But
Yes.
when you have other people and you're used to having your own free space to do whatever you want, and you've got to be quiet in the morning, and you can't practice that self-love, that you got a routine. I was so routine-ish about it, right?
Yeah.
Like I had to do this, I had to do that, I had to do it, and it had to be in a specific order, and I was
Yeah.
controlling it the way it was supposed to go down, and
Yeah.
and it just wasn't working out. So I just stopped it altogether, but I'm like, no, I need to get back into doing this, because I can feel the difference right away, going
Yes.
from, not doing the self-love, that self-care, reminding myself of how special I am, because, you forget in the process, when you're living everyday life, you just think you're just, and we're all special. Like, we don't remind each other how special we are anymore when you're not practicing that way. You ever notice that for yourself?
Yes. I think you're so right. And also, when we're surrounded by people that don't have a spiritual practice, especially like you said, if you're living with your son, and maybe he doesn't have an obvious spiritual practice that you're aware of, or one that that's kind of in your face reminding you, he's not there saying, okay, have you done your spiritual practice today, mum? Then we can get lazy, or not. I don't want to say lazy.
Well,
We
I
can get
would
into
use
another
that word.
habit. Yeah, but that's a bit unkind, because it
I
kind of
know.
places judgment on it. But it's like, we could just get into another habit of thinking, oh, get out of the habit. And so we are worthy of creating that, carving out that time in the day, whether it's 10 minutes, whether it's 20 minutes, whether it's a minute, an hour, a minute every hour, just to set the alarm on the phone and just go, right, okay, 1 minute, I'm going to remind myself. That can be really powerful too. So I think it's what you say, that decision to self-love. When we make that decision, then it's like, of course I'm going to do my practice every day. I love myself enough to say yes to this.
And that's very true. You got to say, hey, I'm worthy of this love and I'm going to give it to myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't need external love from outside sources. You just need to learn to love yourself from within.
We don't need that validation from others.
No.
Yeah.
I always thought I did, though. For the longest time, I always felt like, oh, I'm nothing unless I get some kind of accreditation from the outside world, because I was raised codependently,
right.
and so that's codependence is like, you got to do this, and this, just to get recognized and feel loved. And you don't have to do that.
And isn't it amazing how when we realize that we don't have to, that's like a life-changing thing in itself, just that realization. Oh my gosh, you mean I don't have to seek outside for it? I can do it. But then it's like, okay, now I've got to grow up.
Yes.
Be nice to myself.
Yes, you have to grow up. But
I grow up.
I am still going to keep that childlike heart and mind.
Oh yeah,
alive all the time.
Never let that go.
No, I like the excitement. I like the wonder. I ask the universe every day to show me a gift outside every day. They do. A feather, a penny.
Yes.
A bee landed on my shoulder and stayed there for about 30 minutes while we were filming the other day.
Oh,
and
wow.
The guy that owned the farm was really impressed. He goes, wow, that bee really likes you. Well, yeah, insects, animals, birds, they know a good person. They know good energy. They know loving energy, right?
That's amazing.
So they're going to hang out with that loving energy because it feels good.
I love that. A bee on you for half an hour. I mean, that's, that's not the norm, is it, for a bee?
No,
they're on and they're
it's
off.
not. No, he was just hanging out on my shoulder and they're like, aren't you afraid you're going to get stung? No. Nope. I had no fear. They were like, well, let me swat it off. I said, no, when the bee decides to go, the bee will go, So I walked around and the bee stayed on my shoulder for a half hour.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I asked for that gift that day. That's a gift to commune with Mother Nature.
Yes.
So
and the message of the bee.
Yeah.
The message of the bee, it's like there's the carrier of this pollen and that creating the honey, and the bee is like a worker that knows that it's going to alchemize this pollen into honey. I love the idea of the bee.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing right now is we're pollinating St. Petersburg with love right now with the St. Pete Time Bank. So I'm just so excited to be a part of that process right now.
And I love the idea of a time bank. You explained it to me last time, where people swap their time with their skills and their gifts and whatever their talents. Isn't that such a beautiful idea?
It is a beautiful idea, and it connects everybody together, whether they have the same spiritual religion or whatever practices they have. It doesn't matter. All of that, you push that over to the side. We're all coming together as a community and supporting and uplifting each other as a community, which we've gotten away from. The 80s and the 90s, they took us away from community.
Yeah, and now we're being forced into this other understanding of, or a deeper understanding of community, where we can do this online now, and there are no excuses. We can meet on Zoom or whatever, and actually be with each other and support each other and love ourselves in that process by being with like-minded people. It's really powerful what we're going through right now.
Oh yeah, I feel very loved and supported by the universe. And we're talking, I've only been doing the meditation for 2 weeks now. The gratitude prayer and the meditation for 2 weeks, and then it's like boom, opened up, and all these amazing things are starting to happen. I got a promotion at work. Uh I got more hours, which I wasn't happy about, but because I mean, I have all this other stuff going on too, and
Yeah.
adding more hours for work wasn't exciting, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But
So
it's all about this. Someone said, and I love this, stop trying to be a success. You're already a success. How can we be of more use right
yes,
now
yes,
for ourselves and collectively? And so that when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that makes sense
yes.
as a mantra. We're already a success. How can I be of use right now? How can I help somebody with something? How can I? So you getting that extra time at work is like, is spirit showing you that you're so useful at what you do. More of it, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. However, my son feels like, oh, you got all this stuff going on. You don't want to spend any time with me. Well, I do want to spend time with you. I want to spend quality time with you.
Yeah.
But I am having a calling right now to be, to do these things, and they're temporary. I want
Yeah.
everybody to know when your life gets busy, it is temporary. It doesn't last forever. So enjoy the ride, because, someday there'll be a day where nobody's calling you to do anything, and you'll be like, oh, wow, I kind of liked it when the phone was ringing. At least for me. You may enjoy it, but I do like my quiet time, but I love people. I like the communion of people, and the spirit of giving and helping. That's just right up my alley. So,
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I'm there with you, Rev Raven. It's like we need to connect, heart to heart as communities. We need to find ways to connect, and we also need that downtime, because if it was full on every day, we'd just all be kind of going like, oh my gosh, what's happening with my life? So we need that ebb and flow
yes.
to, yeah, and then we can steer it in a really manageable way. So it's great to have that busy time and then to have a relax and then go again, that doobie doo thing.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. So what does the future look for you? Like, what does it look
Mm,
like for you right now?
I'm excited to be completing my ministry education next year, and to allowing that to unfold and to continue with New Thought Media Network, uh, with the projects that I'm involved with there, and to create this community for women who are who have been challenged with their relationships with their daughters or children,
Hmm.
to allow women that space to heal that lineage, those patterns of beliefs that have come through, and to access that power within them so that they can tune into their purpose, because we're all
Oh,
here for a purpose. We are.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that you're going to take that time and work with women and let them know, wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah. For me, that's exciting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does that start in January for you?
In my mind and my heart, it's kind of starting now,
Yeah.
and I think it started uh years ago, actually, in my life, as my own life experience.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of, when you get those moments of, how am I piecing my life together so that I can bring in aspects of my experiences and really share those experiences with others for their growth. So it's taken me a while, Rev Raven, to kind of pull Laura in. Because I'm like out there doing this and doing that, and it's like, hang on, got to center here and understand in my heart who it is I'm really here to serve and how I can serve myself best through that. So I've taken this last year to kind of experiment with that within my heart and see my life from different perspectives, if you know what I mean by that.
Yes.
Kind of unpick things and place it together in different kind of combinations. And this is what's coming through for me right now. That it is for us women to, and I'm not being gender specific, it's whoever identifies as a woman, really. And it's about healing, because together we're stronger. Together we're stronger. And if we have these beliefs that are separating us on some level from either our mothers or our children, our daughters, then we are basically not allowing ourselves to be fully healed, to come forwards, to step forwards for this greater collective experience of healing that we're all going through right now. So I feel that it's our responsibility to do this work, to look at our lineage, to look at the belief systems that have gone on and really be in that place of liberation. So we come forwards healed and knowing our purpose, and then really being present with that on this planet right now for humanity.
Oh, I love that. That is really amazing. Women, for the most part in the past, have been kind of catty with each other and not very supportive. And I love your idea of bringing women together and saying, hey, we're not in competition here, or we're all here to love and support each other and help uplift each other. And I love the fact that you're doing that.
And often we don't know, we're unsure or unaware of the beliefs that we have, from our grandmothers or our grandparents or great grandmothers or our mothers. There are these beliefs that we have. So we're competing within ourselves, even let alone against with each other.
Right.
It's like this inner competition to be this person that we're not really. Not the real, because we're still living in that kind of remit of the beliefs. So when we unravel those and kind of allow them to dissipate, we're free. And then we can get on with what we need to do in a much more dynamic way.
Yeah. Here's what I've learned on my path is whenever I'm looking at another human being and I'm placing some type of judgment on them, or I'm criticizing them, or whatever the verbiage may be at that time in my brain that I'm thinking it, I'm really nitpicking myself to death.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
It's there. Why would I do that to myself? If I hurt another human being, basically I'm just hurting myself, right?
Yes, of course. And it takes courage to turn that, to look at it from that way, because it's easier. Well, it's not actually, but when we're in that place, it feels easier to blame others, judge others, look at others and put them in a lesser place in our minds. It's kind of like it gives us permission to say, oh, well, you're not where you should be, or I'm in a better place than you. It feels easier to kind of buff it off and just not take that responsibility for our own lives, because you're so right. It's not the other person we're judging, it's ourselves. It's a piece of ourselves that we haven't healed and we haven't acknowledged and we haven't loved. And it's calling out to be loved. And so then we get to see it expressed in another. And that's that's the opportunity to really look within and say, now I'm going to do this work on me, for me.
Wow. And what when you're working with women and you have a group and stuff like that, what what is the basic principle you're going to be teaching them? So in case we have people over here that can't make it over to your workshop, what is like the key principle you'll be teaching in this workshop?
So so this is what's coming through for me for 22. This is what is in my heart that's kind of been pieced together for many years of working with women and working on myself. Gotta put that one in there. And on the experiences that have been happening through me, for me. So the key pieces really are that we can stop judging ourselves. We can stop looking at ourselves as if we're not good enough because we're still holding on to these beliefs that we should be something, a better daughter or a better mother or a better person because we don't come up to someone else's expectation. And those expectations are trapped in our belief system until we realize them and we dissolve them. And until we do that, we're still working on the premise that we're not good enough. And that will show up in so many different ways in our lives, whether it's in relationships, in our finances, in our choices and abilities to set boundaries for our lives, with our health, with the whole lot. And I'm not saying this is like a one and done thing. It's an eternal process because we're eternal beings.
Right.
So we're never going to fix it all right now. It's the willingness to say, yeah, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to do this, to look at my life, to look at those past beliefs that I don't know I'm carrying, and to release them or dissolve them, and to move into the reason why I'm really, really here and move into that fully.
I like that. So you're giving them steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
To continue to do the work on their own.
Yes, because we have to be independent. I mean, it's great. We want to be in community, and yet we want to also take ownership and learn how to do this so that we're independent, so we're not relying on anybody else. You know, you talked about codependency before. And there, you know, we can be codependent in spiritual community, can't we?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Where we're expecting the minister or the leader or the practitioner to be the one to kind of wave the magic wand. Yes. And it doesn't work like that, does it?
No, it doesn't, unfortunately. No. I wish it did. I wish there was a magic blue pill we could take and it wiped off everything. I'd like to figure out a magic way to get rid of guilt. I don't know about you, but I was raised with a lot of guilt.
I was raised with, I mean, you know, there's the Jewish guilt thing. And it's like, okay, I've never experienced guilt in another religious context. But from my experience in the Jewish upbringing that I had, guilt was like, it was just like spread on everything with chopped liver. Guilt was like, you know, and it's subtle.
Yes.
It's really subtle. It's body language, it's expectation, you know, unsaid expectations that you know vibrationally and energetically. It's not always, you know, you should feel guilty because in language form. It's communicated in very subtle ways.
I'm glad you brought that up about the communication vibrational. I mean, people don't realize that you can say one thing, but your vibration will, you know, give out the real message. You know, you could say something and you don't really mean it, but the vibration comes out and the person picks up on that vibe, you know, and so we always are tweaking that energy source within ourselves. That's where your meditation comes in to help with that.
Yeah, because when we're meditating for ourselves and also knowing love for every being on this planet and beyond, then we're becoming less egocentric, and we're opening our hearts with compassion to everything and everybody here right now experiencing this experience of life. And I believe that my experience is my experience, my world is my world, and everything that I choose to acknowledge within my world as love will show up as love. And if we're all doing that, wow, that's really mega. That's like mega. That's like changing from that vibrational place. And that speaks volumes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, and your vibration that you're putting out right now, being on this podcast, is just absolutely beautiful. You can feel the love and the sincerity coming through, and I just wanted you to know that, because it's very important that people pick up on that love and that support. You right now are sending lots of love out to everybody, and I can feel it. In fact, it got so hot in the room, I had to turn my fan on right now while you were talking.
I love that. It's amazing. I was doing a visioning the other day with somebody, and I had to turn the radiator down. So it's like you can feel when that energy is so powerful, even through the internet. Isn't that amazing?
I know it is
Yeah.
amazing. It's phenomenal, and I love it. And it really goes into quantum physics, actually, because even though you and I are not in the same room, I
Or the
felt
same
your energy
country.
or the same country. I can feel your energy all the way here in Florida. So it's amazing. I mean,
I
it's
love
really,
it.
it's just so tubular. So what what does the spiritual community look like over there? I'm just curious. I've never been to England. My grandmother's from England, Blackpool. Have you ever heard of that
Oh, of
place?
course, I've been to Blackpool.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, have you been?
no, I've never been to England at all.
Oh,
My great grandparents owned a hotel there, and as a child, she was made to work there in the hotel. They were
yeah.
free labor.
Okay.
So my grandmother just passed away a few years ago at the age of 98. She was 1 month away from
Wow.
her 99th birthday.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so what I was, me and her, we kind of talked about spirituality over there. She remembers as a child going to get tea leaves read.
Oh, yeah.
Her and her mother would go get tea leaves read and stuff like that. But what does the spiritual community look like over there?
Well, for me, spiritual community is not physical. It's online. For me, it's global. My friends and the people that I love and that believe in the same kind of truth and understanding that I believe in, we connect online, and that makes it so much easier,
Uh-huh.
to meet with people from an online perspective. Now we have to be online. As far as new thoughts goes, outside of America and Canada and Spanish-speaking countries, new thought is kind of dotted around the world, not in such an obvious way as it would be with centers that are in America. So I think community is pockets of people that say yes to wanting to be together and to practice together and to make their lives better by fulfilling themselves with spiritual practice, and being in community by checking in with that on a weekly basis. But I think it's online.
You think it's,
If that's what you mean.
I see that coming. I was warned back in 99 that everything's going to be online. This was before the internet really took the pop. I guess the internet really took its big hit when Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky stuff was going on. But
I wasn't there.
but anyway, I got a widget and a message that said online. Everything's going to be online. but we still do need to take that outside community. We still need to go into the community though and have that physical interaction. Yes, the online stuff is there, but I know COVID's been a big thing, but we still have to get out there and physically commune.
And I think that for me personally, that now I'm really kind of, processing that question. For me, it's about us as individuals owning the truth, doing the work for ourselves personally, and then being in community and letting that shine out, whoever, whether we're standing in a queue, paying for something, or in a park, sitting in a park, or on the seafront, and there are people around. If we're being it purposefully, knowing it in our hearts, and doing the work for ourselves, that's going to beam out and radiate, and people are going to catch that. Just like you and I feel the vibration of each other through the internet.
Right.
So when we're in public, when we're in those public spaces and there are people around, we're being called to be intentional about how we step out of our front door and commune with those that we might not speak to, because we know our consciousness is the language that's vibrating or coming through from us. Yeah.
I just have to with what you just said there, I just need to comment on this. For all of you people that are still going out and working with the public, how important you are, that you're willing to step up when so much fear with this COVID thing. You're still going out and showing up, and you're willing to keep the grocery store open, or the gas station, or the restaurant. Thank you. I mean,
yes,
what big heroes. To me, they're bigger than the doctors and the nurses and the police people right now, because they're going out there knowing at any moment they could get sick. Even with the shot, with the vaccine, you can still get sick.
Oh
with,
yeah.
with COVID. And they're still risking that chemical warfare that's out there, that biological warfare, not chemical, but biological warfare. And there are heroes right now. And I hope that everyone that listens to the show, that when you're at the grocery store, you say thank you to that person that's checking you out, because they're heroes.
Yeah. Do you know what? As you're saying this, something really is coming through for me. It's like here in the UK, we've just had Remembrance Day on November the 5th, where we remember the veterans and those that went to World War One and put their lives on the line to fight in that way that they did, with guns and cannons and in the trenches. And it was now war, if you want to call it that, is happening in a very different way.
Right.
And here we are, like you've just said, biological what did you say? Because I don't want to say another word that I
biological warfare is what I call it.
Yeah, and I was going to say experimentation. Same thing. So it's happening in a different way now. And these people that you've just, these hearts of gold that know on some level that this is what they're here to do right now in 2021, 2020, 22. They know they've been called to this on on another level, not maybe on a conscious level. And they're showing up and they're just saying, I'm getting on with it. I'm doing. They're like our veterans, aren't they?
Yes. Yes, they are.
Yeah, they really are, because they're the ones that are going into the trenches.
Yes, they are.
And saying, I'm showing up and I'm being that, not a barrier, but that support for everyone around the world to get through this situation. We need to have a day for them. I'm not saying us and them, but it's like for these people that show up in this way unapologetically and just get on with it. We need to have a day of remembrance for them.
Yes, I totally agree. I mean,
Yeah.
we do need to have that because they to me they are the frontline workers.
Yeah, they really are.
They're supporting
It's
us and they're
so
keeping going.
powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. The people that, take that collect the dustmen, the people in our everyday lives.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone is so important and so in value. They're valuable, to keeping our society going. And I don't think they realize how important and how special each one of their uh, whatever you choose to do, or maybe you didn't even choose to do it, but you did it because it was money coming in. But
Yeah, that's
but
right.
it's very important and very valuable what you're doing.
Yes. Absolutely.
Just like you doing your show. uh is it on a daily basis that you do your show? I know I see you on there all the time, but
No, I'm not on there all the time. So the cosmic prayer is every Monday, once a
every
week.
but then
Yeah.
you do the other show,
On a Wednesday, the
a,
meditation on a Wednesday.
a meditation on
On a
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, and that's so needed. And I will post the links to Laura's show on the Raising Vibration page in Facebook. And I will go back and fix it in the YouTube and let that we'll have that on there too as well. But I think it's very important because you're giving of your time doing that. And you're not getting paid for it, are you?
Well, you know what? It's like you're doing the same, Reverend Raven, with what you're doing right now, showing up, because we know in our hearts we have a calling to share what we know and speak our message and speak our truth and be on the front line in a different way. So we're all doing our part. We're all doing what we're called to do. And so I see that prosperity comes back or through me in so many beautiful ways
Right.
that I can't I can't put a limit on that kind of payment limitation on it, because it comes through in other ways. Yeah.
Yeah, it does, but
Prosperity comes through in other ways.
it does prosperity, and you don't have to worry about where it's coming from, and you're accepting it. That's one of the key things is
Yeah.
if you're pure heart, mind, and soul, and you don't worry, you will be taken care of.
Absolutely.
But you are a frontline worker because you're reminding people to do their prayers, to do their meditation, to
Mm.
show up for themselves and love themselves and not have to have that support. So I want to thank you for the great job that you're doing because it's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's great to be here and to be with you again and to be sharing. And I'm just excited. I'm excited for what's coming through, and I'm excited for everybody to see that love in their hearts of who they are. And when we get that, it's like, okay, we're all here on the front love line doing this, and it's beautiful. So thank you for inviting me on to this amazing show today.
Yes, I'm really grateful to have you on here. I wanted your workshops that you're going to be presenting, will those be online?
They're online.
Oh,
They are.
nice. That's
Yeah.
great. So anybody that's listening, if they want to go to your website, which
LauraTopper.com.
yeah, lauratopper.com. You
Yeah.
even have a thing where people can sign up for free gems and goodies too as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Free gyms and goodies. I don't think that's my website.
Oh, I thought I looked like
Free
your
gems. Oh, free gems. I thought you said gyms, like workout gyms. No, I'm not in the gym space yet. Yeah, well, I'm continually adding onto that page for free things to give away. And the one thing that's on there right now is a 30-minute song healer meditation to shift. It's like an auto suggestion. It's my song because I'm a singer, songwriter as well, and Jason's music, and it will really put you into that place of knowing you are safe and you are loved. And it's a 30-minute kind of ongoing meditation sung mantra. So that's
Oh,
there right now.
nice. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I love the vibration of music. I mean,
Yeah.
that really puts you at a higher frequency when you're in that place.
Yeah. And we can use that, to shift into that place so easily with music, because we're tapping into another part of our brain that is more accepting of hearing it when there's music there.
So,
So it's
what kind of instruments do you guys use?
So Jason plays a lot of our music. He creates so much music, with technology, but his two instruments that he plays physically are the bass guitar and the kora, which is an African harp, and it's
Oh,
21 strings,
oh, nice.
21 stringed instrument, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I think there's kora on this track as well. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I encourage our listeners to go to your website,
Oh,
sign
yeah.
up for the messages that you send out. How often do you send out a message to them?
Once a week
Once a week.
or more,
Oh,
depending on
wow.
how I feel.
That's a big undertaking right there in itself.
Yeah.
And the guests that you have on your meditation show, where do how do you connect with them? I mean,
So on the meditation show, there are no guests. This is like
just you in your meditation.
yeah, and you join, and there's always a little group on Zoom of
Uh-huh.
people that have been doing this for 2 years. So they're on Zoom separately doing it, but the meditation is online on Facebook and on YouTube through New Thought Media Network. So it's at 12 o'clock lunchtime, mountain time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the perfect time to just recalibrate for 20 minutes.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah, it's cool.
20-minute meditation
Yeah.
online. That is gorgeous. And then your Monday show where you guys talk about prayers,
Yeah.
how long is that show, and who are the people that you get to come on the show? I know I've been on there, but
You have absolutely. It's people that I'm really inspired by and that I meet or I've known and that I feel, yeah, you're called. You're called to come in here and share. And so definitely that's why you were there. And I'm really praying that you're going to come back in 2022 and share again. I would love that.
And I hope you come back over here. I know
Yeah.
you're probably going to be writing a book. I feel it.
Oh, yeah.
I got that. I got that today while we were talking. Like, oh no, I got a feeling this one's going to be writing a book. So, have you thought about that?
I've written a couple of books.
You've written a couple of books. All
yeah,
right.
I have written a couple of books, and I think that that is in my kind of, it's there, it's swimming around somewhere. It's like, okay, I want to get through this year of 22 with my ministerial education and all of the exams that are involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
So then that for me, it's like, okay, there's something I want to say here, and I'd like to publish it.
Nice. So your two books that you've written, you've already published them?
Yeah.
How do we find those books?
Okay, so they're on Amazon. If you put in Laura Topper in the books section of Amazon, you'll get the two books that are there. Mama on a Mission and Self-Love Makeover. They're two very different kinds of books. Yeah.
All right. I love it. I'm like, I kept picking up book writing this, and I didn't know you had two books
wow.
out.
Okay.
But like, I felt it's coming up in the future, though.
Yeah,
like there's one coming up. So.
There's something a little bit different coming through. Yeah.
Awesome. So we can look forward to that. Like 2023, 2024, somewhere right around there.
No pressure.
No pressure, huh? Great. But Laura, I do hope that you come back on this show. You have been an absolutely delight. I love it. I love your energy. And the love that you're just pouring out to everybody. You inspired me to go
Oh,
out and do something positive today just
oh,
from
well,
talking to you.
you are already, I know what you're doing. You're doing it already, and it's amazing.
Well, we got about 4 minutes left in the show. Is
Oh,
there anything else that you want to tell our listeners, to encourage them, or anything that's coming up in your life that we can share with everybody?
okay, so there are a few things that I'm going to say very briefly. The first thing is going back to the original where we began here, with when you're faced with something that you feel is just your world is falling apart, then allow it to fall apart. Because in that falling apart, there is something absolutely beautiful that wants to come through that the old cannot support anymore. So have that faith to allow that to crumble and to know that there is this amazingness, this newness coming through. And that's what we're all being called to do, to be brave enough to surrender right now. And to be in community, to absolutely reach out. And as Rev Raven said, ask your friends for that extra prayer support, or that extra hug, or whatever it takes, to feel connected, because we're not alone. And I think that's really important, to be vulnerable enough to ask and to love yourself through that, even if it's a minute a day or an hour or whatever, to tune in to who you are and know that you are loved, absolutely loved right now. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Well, do you have a prayer that we could end the show with to go
Yeah.
along with your show?
Okay, so if you'd like to join me and close eyes so that we're just coming away from what is around us and what we're seeing, and take a breath here and center in, because we know that all of these words and everything that's been said and how our brains and minds are trying to compute it all. And yet, ultimately, there is one thing that is happening right now. And this one thing, as I know it, is love. And this love is so expansive, so expressive. It has a language all of its own. And it is guiding everything right now. So I know that it is guiding me. I know that I am enfolded in this love. I know that I am an expression of this love. And that as I am, and Rev Raven is, and you are too, anybody that is watching or listening to this right now, or later on after this recording, that this love is who you are. This love is coming through you right now, always wanting to speak through you and show you the amazingness of who you are. So as you open up your heart, as we open up our hearts to being this greater expression of love, to seeing life as love, accepting it, allowing it to flow through us, and being inspired to love ourselves, to love those that are close to us, regardless of how we might be judging them. Let that love be known. Because as we do this, as we open up to this love, we open up to a greater experience of receiving it for our lives. So I see us all now absolutely centered in this love, as this love expands from our hearts. And we go on in our day being this loving presence, so that those that come across us feel it, they know it with no words, and they catch this and they know it for themselves. This is how we allow this chain reaction to unfold itself. So as I see this happening and demonstrated and love in your heart and our hearts and everybody's hearts, I let go of this, I accept it, and I know that it is done. And I know that this divine presence of love is continually showing itself through each of us. So I let go and I let God, and so it is.
So it is. Wow. You are going to be a fabulous minister. I want to join your church.
Oh, can I join yours too?
My church is all open to everyone.
Yeah.
All
beautiful.
right. Well, Laura, I'm going to end this broadcast now. I want to thank you so much for giving of your beautiful time and energy to us today. I do hope you come back in 2022 and play with us again, because your energy is so fun to play with.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell you how much I love you.
Oh, I love you. And I feel so honored and grateful and humbled that we've met.
Yes.
Finally. Took time, didn't it?
Yes, it did. All right. Well, we're going to say goodnight to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again. And be sure to look for Laura's links in the comment section. Have a great night, everyone.